In today's video, I'm taking you behind the scenes to show you how I drafted and knitted my very first sweater, completely from scratch. For this project, I used 3 packs of wool, a 7mm knitting needle, a 4mm knitting needle, detachable knit wire, a 2mm crochet hook, a 3mm crochet hook, measuring tools, some elastic thread, scissors, clips, and a needle. To measure yourself, you will need tape, and for guidance, I would also suggest to add elastic on your bust and your hip. Wrap the measuring tape around your bust and write that number down. Then, continue measuring from shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, shoulder to desired length, neck width, neck depth, nape to waist. To get the armhole depth, simply take a piece of sturdy paper and place it under your armpit. Make sure the paper is parallel to the floor and mark the sides of your arm. Then take a measuring tape and measure the marked points and divide that number by 2. This will be your armhole depth. Let's get started with the pattern drafting. First, draw up a rectangle that is your bust measurement plus the amount of ease that you want for your sweater and the shoulder to waist length. In the middle of the rectangle, draw up the neckline length and the depth. Draw up a horizontal line that measures from your shoulder to your bust, then on each side mark your armhole depth. You can always make the armhole length smaller. I just found it very comfortable having it starting from my bust. From your waist, you can now extend the length you wanted for your sweater. Let's move on to the back. Repeat the same as the front, only this time the length of the rectangle is from your nape to your waist. Then again, repeat the same steps for the neckline, armhole, bust, and extend the length. Once you have both the front and the back, let's do a quick checkup. The side seams need to be the same length, same goes for the neckline width. As you can see, the back is longer than the front, which is normal, especially if you have more of a rounded back. Finally, figure out the length of the ribbing you wanted to add to the neckline and subtract that amount around the neckline. For any sort of knit or crochet project, it is very important to make a swatch first. Based on my swatch, I measured how many stitches fit into 10 cm and how many rows fit into 10 cm. Based on those numbers, I calculated the exact amount of stitches and rows I needed for my sweater. To calculate how many rows you need, simply take that number of rows on your swatch that equal 10 cm, multiply it by your sweater's measurement and divide that number by 10. Same goes for the stitches. Take the number of stitches on your swatch that equals 10 cm and multiply it by your sweater's measurement and divide that number again by 10. Now that we have all the numbers, let's get started with stage 1. You will need to cast on X stitches to get the width of the front and the back and X rows to reach the armhole. For this project, I used the long tail method to cast on. First, make a slip knot and place it on your needle. Hold the yarn with the tail over your thumb and the working yarn over your index finger. Scoop the needle under your strand on your thumb, then over the strand on your finger and pull it back through. And that's one stitch cast on. Repeat this until you have the number of stitches you need for your front or your back. Now that we have the right numbers of stitches cast on, let's start knitting. To knit, insert your needle from front to back into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around the right needle, pull the loop through and slide the old stitch off. Again, insert your needle from front to back into the stitch, wrap the yarn around the right needle, pull the loop through and slide the old stitch off. Repeat this until you reach the end. Once you finish knitting the first row, turn your work and now we are going to purl. To purl, bring the yarn to the front, insert your needle from back to front into the stitch. Wrap the yarn around the right needle, pull the loop through and slip the old stitch off. Again, bring the yarn to the front, insert your needle from back to front, wrap the yarn around the right needle, pull the loop through and slip the stitch off. Repeat this step until you reach the end. Once you're done purling, we're gonna flip our work again and now we're gonna use the knitting stitch again. We are going to continue alternating between knitting and purling until we reach the armhole, which is gonna be stage 2. To remove any confusion, this should help you see where you need to know if you need to start to knit or to purl a row. You can download all the diagrams that you've seen so far in the description box below. Alright, let's move on to stage 2. Okay, let me show you how I've done this L shape for the armhole, and basically to figure out how many stitches that I need to cast off, I took in my tape and I knew for me it was 6 centimeters on one side, so I just placed it and then counted how many stitches I need to take off until I get to that 6 centimeter mark. So to cast off, I'm just gonna knit my first stitch as I done so far. So I'm just gonna normally knit it, take it off, then I'm gonna knit the next one, then go back into the first one and just loop it over. So it is slightly tricky, but it's doable. And like this, we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna knit the first stitch, take it off the hook, then go into the previous one and just loop that on top of it. And again, until, for me it's 10 stitches that I need to close off first, so let's do it again. So I need to do that now 10 times. This is now 10 for me, and what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna knit normal until I reach the end where I'm gonna go again and remove 10. So I'm gonna knit now as I would usually do, so we're just gonna knit and not take off anymore. So continue and I'll see you until I reach the last 10. I have now the last 10 stitches on the other side, and we're gonna cast these off as well. So you're gonna knit the first one and then again take that one loop and put it on top like so. Remove the yarn, and here we have our cast off for the armhole on one side, on the other side. And now we have all these stitches now for the upper body that we're gonna do now. I'm gonna take my yarn again, go ahead and put my yarn here and take it off. So here we have one stitch. Keep in mind, look, that I'm taking both of these. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional, so this is just my method. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. So I'm gonna purl as normal. And here we have it. So we're just gonna purl again and again. Maybe after a couple I will then leave the short one out, and then I'm gonna continue with the rest as normal. Let's move on to stage 3. Alright, I just finished off the rows that I need to do in order to go now to the neckline. I have marked where my shoulder is gonna be. This is gonna be my neck, and then here my shoulder again. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna continue knit up till here and then cast off the neck and then knit again to for the whole shoulder. So let me show you what I mean by that. As mentioned before, I first knitted one side of the shoulder. So I've done the last mark, as you can see here. So I'm gonna remove my holder, and what we're gonna do now is what we've done here. We're gonna cast off now the neck. So we're gonna knit one and then take the previous stitch on top, and then we have cast off one stitch. So again, we're gonna knit and then cast off like so until we reach here. So I'm gonna do that now, and then I'll meet you until I get to this point. So as you can see, this is now the neckline and this is my shoulder line, and now this is the, let's continue with the other side of the shoulder. So here's my pin. I'm gonna remove it and I'm just gonna knit this now normal. I'm not gonna cast off anything, so just gonna knit now. So there we go. Here we have it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna work on this side only, and then continue on this side. So I'm just gonna continue knitting as I've done before until I reached the desired length of my shoulder, and then continue on this one. Okay, now that we have the one shoulder done, which is this one, let's move on to this one. Now that I cut off the yarn, I need to put it back. So to do that, just like the armhole, we gonna just create a loop here, but first we're gonna go into the first purl. We're gonna start, because we knitted this way, and to keep it consistent, now we're gonna purl that way. I hope that makes sense. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take this and this over here, pretend I'm purling, and then take it out. Same for the next one. I'm just gonna purl as usual and then purl again, taking both yarns again because I do not want to unravel it by mistake. Once the front and back panels were knitted, it's time to bind them together at the shoulder using the mattress stitch. To join the pieces with a mattress stitch, place the edges side by side and work from the right side of the fabric. Insert your needle under the horizontal bars between the first and second stitch on one side, then do the same on the other side. Keep alternating left and right, gently pulling the yarn every few stitches. Once both shoulders are stitched together, we can now work on the neckline. First, we need to pick up loops. Insert your needle into the edge of the fabric, grab the yarn with your needle and pull it through to form a new stitch. Move evenly along the edge, picking up one loop at a time until you've created all the stitches you need for the neckline ribbing. Add a clip when you reach the end because now we are going to work in circles. To create a knit purl rib, simply alternate between one knit stitch and one purl stitch. Knit the first stitch, purl the next, then continue knit purl across your row. This gives the fabric that stretchy elastic texture. Continue alternating between purl and knit until you are happy with the length. Once you are happy with the length of your neck ribbing, it's time to cast off. This time I'm using a 3mm crochet hook to help me cast off. Basically, I am inserting my needle through the loop, then yarn over and pull the loop through. Cast off and yarn over again and pull through the loops on the hook. Moving on to the sleeves. Starting from one side, pick up loops alongside the armhole and then knit until you have reached the desired length. Alright, I just finished, it's been a couple of days now since the last clip, but I finished knitting the sleeve. I'm happy with the length, and what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna shrink this sleeve, and let me show you how I've done it. Before starting taking in, I changed my knitting needle to 3mm. To take in your knitting, simply knit 2 stitches together. Insert your needle through 2 stitches at once as if you were knitting them normally. Wrap the yarn around, pull it through and slide both stitches off. This creates 1 stitch out of 2. Once you finish the decrease, change the other knitting needle. Now we're gonna purl 1 row and then we're gonna start with a ribbing stitch. Just like the neck ribbing, I did the same here where I alternate between knit and purl. Repeat until the desired length of the cuff. Once you reach the desired cuff length, you will need to increase again. Unfortunately, the clip here doesn't show exactly how I did it, so let me show you how I did it on this sample here. To increase, I knitted the first stitch as usual, and then as you can see, I took this piece of yarn from the back and placed it on my hook and then knitted. The next stitch I knit again and took that 1 string of yarn from the back and placed it on the hook and knitted again. I repeated this step until I reached the end and then pulled the next row as usual and knit again until I reached the desired length of the sleeve. Once I was happy with the length, I then cast off using my crochet hook again. I repeated the same step as I showed you earlier on the neck ribbing. Once I reached the end, I did not cut off the yarn but switched my hook to a 2mm size and started crocheting this diagram here that I found on Pinterest. I personally can't not read crochet or knit instructions because I can not visualize it, and I personally love diagrams more because I can see what I actually have to do. What about you? Do you prefer diagrams or do you actually prefer reading instructions? Because I'm curious. I've tried reading instructions, but it just doesn't work for me. My brain just doesn't absorb this type of information. Diagrams are just so much easier. Once done with all the knitting work, you should have something equally to this. The last step to almost completing the sweater is to add elastic to the cuffs. I took again my 2mm crochet hook and started crocheting into the wrong side of the sweater, taking an eyelet and slip stitch into each one. I really hope it makes sense what I'm saying here. I think the way I'm showing it on camera might be easier than me describing what I'm actually doing. All that is left now is to stitch the sides together using the mattress stitch again. And here we have the final garment. I wet blocked the sweater, and if you want to see how I did it, you can visit this video I linked on the right corner. What do you think of this sweater? Would you make one for yourself? This is it. I really hope you enjoyed watching me making this gorgeous sweater. I'm actually wearing it now. I'm gonna go out in a bit, and I'm paired it with one of my favorite makes up to this date, and it's this cheesecloth blouse. If you have not watched it, what are you doing? Go watch it, because this project was super fun to make. It's my most worn blouse, and I genuinely love this project so much, because it was a very much fun and unique way to approach this project. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!